Today, I will show you how the same exact subject can convey two different stories with just the addition of the language of flowers. I will also show you two quick ways to add flowers and sharing some tips on making sure your flower doesn't look disconnected from your subject. The key to making sure that your flower looks seamless with your environment is by using consistent light and colors. It is key to make sure that your flowers and the rest of the illustration all exist in the same space. To begin with, I like to start with the thumbnail of each of the lighting scenarios I want. It'll be way easier for me to keep a consistent light if I know what I would like to make beforehand. I have a top-down light and a side light source for the demo. An easy general light rule that I often follow is a warmer tone light and a colder tone shadow. You will need to apply this to your whole illustration so that it looks cohesive. Sometimes, drawing a huge amount of flowers, like a massive bouquet or a flower field, might be intimidating. But worry not. There are ways you can get a glorious flora without straining your wrist. Don't forget to stretch. The first one is to use an asset brush. Clip Studio has a whole library of various brushes, materials that you can download from various creators. I prefer the ones with changeable colors, so I can really pick according to my preference, but you can apply this technique with all types of brushes. The way I like to color in these is by setting the brush's line art color to the line art color of the rest of my illustration, and the fill to be a white or a light beige. Therefore, I can set this layer to multiply, and color underneath the multiply layer to my liking, having the line art fully intact. If you can't change the colors and the brush colors are black and white, you can use blend mode overlay to color the black line art. While if you want to use a brush with already set colors, you can adjust it using the tonal correction settings. For this demo, my character is very desaturated, so I shifted the tone colder with color balance, lowered the saturation, and then over the layer, I clip a gray layer on blending mode color on a low opacity. I suggest trying blending mode color, multiply, and overlay and see which one gives you the effect that you want. Sometimes using asset brushes can easily look disconnected from the main drawing, as it's most likely drawn not in your art style. But adjusting the colors will help with this a lot. The light will improve this even more. An easy way to quickly establish lighting source is to use a multiple layer for the shadows, selecting the parts you like to be in light with the lasso tool and deleting it. To push the light even further, I like to layer blend mode soft light for the non-direct light, such as bounce light, and glow dodge layer for harsher light like edge lighting on the parts without the multiply layer. Don't forget to keep in mind your light source and keep it consistent. Photo reference and 3D models would be great for this, but with practice and consistent observation, you'll be able to more or less guesstimate the light. The second way to get a dense flower bush fast is to not draw all of your details. I know, sounds counterintuitive, but we will be using an impressionistic approach. According to Wikipedia, Impressionism is a 19th century art movement characterized by visible brushstrokes and emphasis on accurate depiction of light. This method will give you the illusion of detail without having to draw every single element, because you are focusing on how light and color forms the overall environment. We will see this in even more detail in the demo. The last tip to improve your background even more is to maximize your foreground and background. I like to either blur the foreground elements or blur the furthest elements away from the camera to give a sense of distant detail. I like to use the Gaussian blur filter for this. I am picking some common flower language examples for the demo: white lilies and red roses. According to multiple sources, white lilies are associated with purity, virtue, rebirth, and sympathy, while red roses are often symbolized with passion, love, desire, but the thorns on roses also presents a dual symbolism, like challenges, sacrifice, and sometimes danger. First, let's tackle the asset brush method. I'm using this lily brush, linked below, using a method I explained before. Once that's done, you can set this layer to multiply and color on the layer beneath it however you like. And then create a multiply layer. Using the lasso fill tool, I am selecting parts where the shadows would hit from a top-down light scenario. I pick a desaturated gray-green as my color for the shadows and leaf stems, and a desaturated gray-blue for the flowers, choosing cold colors because I want my light to look more warm. For the harsher light, I create a new glow dodge layer, and still using the lasso fill tool, I pick a warm desaturated yellow for my strongest highlight. You can adjust your opacity to your liking, but because the illustration is pretty muted overall, I opted for a lower opacity. Keeping the light source in mind, I applied the same method to the character, from carving out the shadows and then adding light. This is what will make your flowers and your character look like they exist in the same space. To avoid the background flowers competing for attention, I will use the airbrush tool on a normal layer above the flowers to add a soft mist using the background color, in this case cream, to separate our characters from her background ever so slightly. I also duplicated the entire flower layer after merging all of the light adjustments into one layer, set the layer to lighten, and add Gaussian blur to the layer. And then I will lower the opacity ever so slightly. This will give your drawing a slight light bloom effect that softens the colors and line to further put emphasis on the detail of the center of the illustration and add a dreamlike effect. Let's try the other way to speed draw some flowers. Here I am drawing the main flower held by the character using a reference photo I took of a rose. Since this is the main focus of the illustration, this flower should be the most detailed. So I drew every petal, the thorns, and the stem. But what about the background flowers? That is supposed to be a dense rose bush with a lot of leaves and a lot of flowers. Looking at the reference photo, you can see that the overall color percentage is dominated by the leaf color, with stems and leaf overlapping each other. So first, I lay the color of the roses. I pick a desaturated red hue using a brush with color jitter. I cover the whole area where I want the flowers to be before layering on top the darkest leaf color. I am using a very deep desaturated green. Then, either using the lasso tool or a brush with low blending options or on a new layer, I start to carve out some leaf over this dark base, some lighter color leaf, stems, and flowers. Work your way lighter and lighter as you layer these elements, mimicking how shadows cover deeper parts of a bush, like seen in the reference. I mimic the overall shape of the flowers, and for the leaves, rose leaves are quite round, and they grow in groups, emerging from a single stem. So I repeated that pattern all over, alongside with some stylized thorny stems. This is super fast and only took about 10 minutes to do. Finally, as we did with the first illustration, we need to match our light on the character and the background. Using the same exact method with the lasso fill brush, I carve out shadows and light. For this illustration, I also wanted to add some floating rose petals. I will link the brush below. I add some larger petals that are closer to the viewfinder, that I add Gaussian blur for an illusion of a foreground, and some background petals for that added je ne sais quoi. The petals on the foreground is darker because the closer the foreground is to your viewfinder, the darker they tend to be. So that is how you can create very different vibes in illustration using the power of flowers. And also how to make your flowers quick, easy, and looks great as a whole illustration. I hope this helps some of you, and see ya!